All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Really interesting show this week. I feel like I say that every single show, but every single show really is interesting. This week, we've got Juan Pons on from the new TWiP Alpha Mirrorless podcast and Shiv Verma from Shiv Verma Photography. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good evening, Frederick, and hi, Juan. Nice to meet
Shiv.
you
Nice
again.
to meet you too. Yes.
Oh, look at that.
Actually, I met Juan when he was doing a workshop at the Bosque with what's his name? That Rick guy, Rick Salmon.
That guy. Yeah,
that guy. Jeez.
He's written like one or two books. I don't know.
Yeah. He doesn't do much.
No, he's a slug.
You got to get on him about that. Well, good. I'm glad you guys are meeting here live on This Week in Photos. Pleasure to have both of you on. Juan Pons, Alpha Mirrorless, man. You guys are burning up the podcast waves with that. Apparently, there was some pent-up demand for Sony podcasts.
My God, it sounds like it's going. I mean, just the emails that we're getting, it's absolutely crazy the number of emails we're getting.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something, Juan. I enjoy that show. And I'm glad the way you've structured it, the way you have, and I'm glad you're hitting it topic by topic rather than trying to cram too much into just one, So it's really nice. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. You're the first one that said that. Everybody's like, well, why don't you cover this? Why don't you cover this? They want me to cover everything in 1 week. I'm like, wait a second, guys.
more.
Yeah, there's the whole concept of digesting photography, and you can do it one piece at a time. Just don't overdo it.
Yeah. No, you guys have seriously, and I'm not just saying that because it's on the TWiP network, but you guys, well, maybe I am a little bit, but you guys have struck a chord, and I see the feedback coming in. I know you guys respond to every bit of feedback that people send in, and I'm kind of watching from afar, seeing the traffic go back and forth. Obviously, I'm looking at the numbers, and the numbers, like I shared with you, Juan, like within 3 days, you were in competition with other shows on the network, so and it's just been insane. And this is interesting for me. Everything in life is an experiment. This was an experiment of, is there a demand for these vertically oriented, brand specific shows? And I think the answer is yes.
Resounding yes.
Yeah.
Resounding yes.
And I think there is demand for a Fuji, and there's a demand for Panasonic. For at least those two for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, don't leave Olympus out.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's right. Olympus as well. You're right.
Yeah. Olympus too. Yeah, I think those guys. I would argue Nikon and Canon as well. But that's like, I don't know. They're so gigantic. There's already a giant fan base, and I feel like those audiences are already served really well. Whereas these other up and coming audiences need a voice, and you guys are providing that voice. So yeah, congratulations, man. AlphaMirrorless.com is the direct link to get over to it.
Yeah,
good job,
totally.
Good job.
Right now we have. I was organizing all the questions. We've been getting them because we want to answer a lot of those on air, and I'm looking at like, oh my God, I'm going to have to record 6 podcasts just to answer these questions. There's so many questions coming in.
You might have to do just a Q&A show. How about a Q&A show?
Well, we're doing a Q&A show, but it's just like, I'm going to have to do like 6 of them back to back.
Oh, jeez.
I remember that one podcast, Frederick, and we just want to bring this up, that I think you're going to have to get them their $2,000 lens.
Oh, no!
And he's not the first one who said that.
Oh, I better start saving now then.
Yep.
It is. It's out. It's out.
Oh,
we got
man,
witnesses.
what was I thinking?
Hey, Juan, you know what's going to happen? Frederick's not going to have me on the show anymore because I'm a reminder of bad things.
No, I mean that's a good problem to have. I'm happy at that point. I'm happy to kick down a lens for you guys. That's the least I can do. All right, guys, let's dive into the show. I feel like this is going to be one of those controversial shows, as if we don't do those on Twitter. But this one is about this photographer, and we'll obviously put the link in to this article that PetPixel was reporting on in the show notes. But it's about a Melbourne-based photographer that basically shining the light on Calvin Klein, saying that Calvin Klein stole his idea for an image, essentially. So Calvin Klein ran this commercial, which if you want to see it, we'll embed the video in the post for this episode. But it ends in essentially kind of a straight down shot of a woman laying on a bunch of clothes that are various shades of blue, and kind of wrinkled up clothes, and there are various shades of blue. And his shot is similar to that, or maybe it's Calvin Klein's shot is similar to this guy's shot. Anyway, so he's crying foul, saying that Calvin Klein has stolen this image idea from him. And, hey, how is these big guys or big names able to fight this kind of thing, et cetera, et cetera. And I think you can tell by the angst in my voice that I don't necessarily agree with this one. And I think
you're holding that in really well for
the TWiP Army's going to agree with me on this one, because at a certain point, all this copyright, this is my image, this was my idea, all that stuff. I can see, and we've had instances on the show where it's a blatant copy. It's like, okay, person is in the exact same pose, the exact same background, the exact same focal length lens was used and all that. But you can't cry foul on an idea. It's like anybody posed like this is smiling a little bit is copying the Mona Lisa. I mean, come on,
Right. I mean, what about all the portraits? A lot of portraits people shoot that the three-quarters portrait are all those copyright, are all the copies from each other? That's
right. Anybody holding up something like this is copying the artist that created the Statue.
What about all the all the Japanese girls that go like this? Is that like they're all like copying each other?
Exactly. I'm gonna copyright the peace symbol and sue every one of those Japanese kids. I don't know. I mean, and then this article goes on to say that his lawyers say that he has a real case because the image holds more than a 90% resemblance. Well, how do you quantify resemblance? I was going to say, how do you quantify? Shiv Verma, I want you to weigh on this first. You're the, what do you think? Is this guy in the right or wrong?
I mean, I was, I saw this when it first started, and then I saw the video that supposedly, I think the Calvin Klein video went more viral than what he was saying, and I think the whole ad is beautifully done. I mean, there's a lot of emotion in it, and it's just exquisite. So the girl eventually lands on this, thing of denim. I mean, there's denim shorts, denim this, denim that, underwear, whatever it is, and it's a beautiful shot. Now, he's got a posed model, right, semi-nude, in a similar situation.
Yeah.
Right. She's kind of she's a nice looking model. I mean, no two ways about it. But does that constitute an idea? As does photographing Half Dome constitute an idea that we stole from Ansel Adams?
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, this whole thing would if this stuff becomes rampant. Now, there's a line, right? Like I said, there's a line between a blatant copy, and I'm not purporting to say that I know exactly where that line is. I think it's going to be completely subjective. But between blatantly copying someone and being inspired by an idea, or even if Calvin Klein did this completely ignorant of what this guy had did, they came up with it, or somebody may have seen the shot in their head and subconsciously said, hey, maybe if we did something like that, where do you draw the line?
Yeah. Photography is all based on inspiration. Mm-hmm. And where does inspiration come from? Right? You see things, and then you've seen things that other people have done. Right. And together, if you can combine it and make something that is inspirational and of value to you, absolutely go do it. Don't plagiarize. Don't take somebody else's image and modify it and call it your own. Right. That, to me, is copyright infringement. But ideas, I mean, concepts. How many photographs have you seen of a woman, beautiful, dressed in a long red gown, on a sand dune somewhere, or in Moab, or somewhere? I mean, are those photographers saying, oh, he stole my idea? Let's cry about it. Let's make a lot of noise about it. No, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and in technology, Juan, I want you to chime in on this as well. So in technology, I think it Steve Jobs or someone a while ago was giving a speech, and they were talking about how they were standing on the shoulders of giants to create this new thing that they made that was loosely based on the old thing. I don't know. I mean, is that what we're doing, standing on the shoulders of giants, or copying those giants?
Absolutely. I think we're standing on the shoulders of giants. I mean, someone, I can't remember who it was, that said, everything's already been done. All we're doing is copying. All we're doing is is getting inspiration from something else. You know, I don't know if you saw that, but I posted on some of the notes a link to the movie from 1999, American Beauty, where there's a very similar shot to this one, where, you know, there's this beautiful girl laying on an area that's just full of roses. You know, roses, clothing, but it's the same shot, the exact same shot from above. You know, the roses covering the delicate bits, if you will, of the model. I think, and not only that, we just heard something like this just recently. But I mean, this is like deja vu all over again. A month or 2 months ago, there was another case, someone else claiming that not Calvin Klein, but another big brand has stolen his idea of a video that he had produced that was kind of obscure. Same thing. I think we're going to see this more and more as we have a platform like Facebook and, you know, Twitter and whatnot, where people can actually come up with, you know, these claims saying, "Oh, the big boys are coming after me. There's nothing I can do. Boo-hoo."
Yeah, and these are, and I think these are foundless claims, and I think you hit it right on the head, Juan. I think it is, rather than a cry for help, this is a cry for likes, right? So we're even talking about this guy, and he's attaching his
We're the problem. We're the problem.
Right? No, we're part of the problem. But we're helping drive. People are going to say, well, let me go see this guy's work now and see if it actually does compare. So now he's getting all these views and comments and traffic on the shoulders of the giant Calvin Klein. So, you know, I mean, I don't want to cry foul and, you know, say everyone's being nefarious in their intent, but this one sure looks like, you know, it's kind of iffy. I don't know.
Well, I think right now he's achieved it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he has. He has. But I think he's achieved it in that he's shining a light, from the TWiP perspective. He's shining a light on people that do this kind of thing. Yeah. You know, that are trying to hitch their image to a larger brand in order to get more notoriety of their image. Now, I'm not saying he's doing that. Maybe he is, but I got to say, this. If I was the lawyer for Calvin Klein, I'd be like, really, I'm going to put an intern on this one.
Right. But you know, it's funny. When I was reading the text, I was like, I was waiting and waiting and waiting for the Indiegogo link or the GoFundMe link. You know, I thought at some point he was going to ask for money to mount a defense against Calvin Klein, because everything that he was saying, I'm like, oh my God, I can just see that he's just looking for someone to, you know, give him some bucks. Yeah. But he didn't. So, but maybe that's coming. Maybe that's still coming. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's a new a new form of revenue generation. Go through your catalog, find images that you shot a while ago that look like things that are happening today, and post it online to get traffic. You know?
Hey, what about? I had an idea.
He copied it.
You know, I had an idea for a book, and I just saw that National Geographic came up with a book very similar to that. What do you think? Do I have a case?
Yeah, exactly. They stole your idea. They stole
my idea.
I think you should go online and write an article about how bad they are.
Yeah.
I mean, we laugh about it, but I'm hoping that, honestly, I don't know. I'm on the fence about this, because in terms of, if this guy is genuine and he's like, he wrote the road heartbreaking and depressing, and big boys are coming after the little guy, all these kind of, you know, incendiary terms in his post. But if it is in fact like that, I feel bad for him. If he really thinks, if he in his mind thinks that he has a case, because as a consumer, a disinterested, for the most part, consumer, I don't see a case in this. And like I said in the notes here, you know, he said, lawyers tell me I have a real case. Of course, if I was a lawyer, I'd say, yeah, you have a real case, and you know, our fee is, you know, $12,000 an hour, but you really have a case. I'm telling you, you should see this all the way through, sir.
Let's see if you can go raise some money so you can pay us.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
You know, I would like to see a lawyer who would take this case on a contingency basis.
Yeah. Oh, right. We only get paid if we get paid. Yeah.
Yes.
Or we only get paid if you get paid. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen. And you know, I was just, you know, we were talking, and I was just thinking about this as I was reading the show notes, and I was saying, you know, there's a stamp that we attach to lighting, right? It's called Rembrandt lighting.
Yeah.
Right? Every photographer who shoots portraits knows that.
Yep.
Now, you know, there is a Rembrandt fund somewhere. Maybe the Louvre has it, or one of those places. Maybe they should start claiming every single Rembrandt style image that's taken. You owe us a copyright. You know, like
they'll give them ideas. They're kind of like the JPEG people. Remember back in the day, JPEG was trying to sue everybody for using JPEG compression. Oh, yes. Good grief.
After they made it available, yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, use this and now pay us.
Yeah, right.
Patent trolls, which gave rise to the PNG format, which is still not widely used. I think it's a better format in many ways, right? But still not widely used.
But who pays JPEG copyrights? Do you?
Well, the company, I think the companies that use it have to license it. They have to license.
Yes, they have to license it.
Yeah, we don't pay a dime, but those companies do. If you write some software that saves to JPEG, you're gonna be paying the piper for that privilege. Sad.
Right.
All right, guys, let's move on to story number 2. This is about a company called Pictar, Pictar, and they've created, or they're in the midst of creating a device. Actually, the name of the company is called Migo, M-I-G-G-O, and the product is called Pictar. And they're in the process of creating this retro-styled camera grip type of device that you slide your iPhone into, and it gives it, quote, DSLR type controls, and it's retro-styled, etc. So it's another one of those devices that purports to take your phone and turn it into a proper, quote, proper camera. Juan Pons?
Well, again, sorry.
I got to put it on you. See, you give it away before you.
I know.
I'm never going to put you on the witness stand, man.
No, never. Please don't.
Did the defendant kill that woman? And he starts laughing on the stand.
Well, it's a case of deja vu all over again. Didn't we see a bunch of people have been doing this over and over again? We started with what? Will I Am? Remember
Yes,
Will I Am was coming out with something?
Yeah, I told
him. The company, he raised a lot of money to do the same thing. And most recently, we've seen, which actually I believe you have one, or you tried it out, was the one from DxO, right?
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah.
Which is another attachment to the iPhone to improve the picture quality of images taken with the iPhone.
Yep.
Now, again, if you're going to carry all this stuff, might as well carry a camera. If I have my phone, I'm just going to use the camera.
And that's the inherent problem with the DxO One. I like the DxO One. It is by all accounts superior to the quality of the photos that, for the most part, that you get out of the iPhone.
Right.
However, that delta is not large enough to make me go through, even if it's just easy as sticking it on there, taking out my phone and swiping up, taking the picture and putting the phone back in my pocket is friction free. And any other friction that you introduce into that, for me, it makes it, why don't I just use a proper camera?
Right. Exactly. And the people who are going to take the time to take that thing out of the pocket, plug it in, turn on the app that you have to use, right? Because it's not the one that you can swipe from the beginning. You have to launch a proprietary app. By that time, whatever you're going to take a picture of, the moment is gone at that point.
Yeah.
So, only people who are really dedicated, professional photographers or people who, real enthusiasts that want to take images, want to use the device, are going to use the device. And my guess is that if those people are so enthusiastic about taking their images, they're going to use a proper camera, like you said. They're going to use their, the Alpha Mirrorless 6300.
Right. Yeah. There you go. Even in the case of the DxO, which is awesome, when you turn it on, it's really. And I told those guys when I got it, it feels like something that Apple would have made. The quality, the build quality, and just how they thought through every little detail of it. But even then, and even when you pop out the little lightning connector and stick it onto your phone, it launches the app automatically. It does all kinds of amazing things. Like it'll update itself, all that stuff. But even as I think they've made it as simple as you could possibly make this kind of add-on accessory. And even still, there's still a little bit of friction, and not enough gain on the image side for me to consider using this. And on their site, and even on the Migo site for this Pictar, you see all these images. There's images there that you can do this kind of stuff on DxO site, on Sony site. You can do these kinds of things. Look at this DSLR quality image. And when I see that, I'm thinking, why not? Why not just use other? I don't know. Steve, what do you think? Are you hot on this market?
No, please.
You said please.
See, and you said that I gave it away.
the thing that the iPhone's not a bad camera. Okay. Now, this device, which gives us this little grip and some knobs and dials, basically modifies only the way you capture the image. But the image is captured is still the same image that the iPhone capture anyway.
With this device, right? Yeah.
With this device. I mean, it's not doing anything to modify or increase the resolution or increase the focusing capability or any of that. So to me, this is a true friction add-on.
Right. Right.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it does nothing.
Well, yeah, a lot of these are they're cures in search of a disease that no one complained about.
Right.
You know, it's like, hey, you know,
yeah,
hey,
I mean,
like those infomercials where you see, hey, buy this new drug, Lipitor, that solves this thing that you didn't know you had, but introduces all these other problems that you will have if you take this. Yeah.
But then again, you know, that's kind of very close to what, you know, Steve Jobs said. You know, a lot of consumers don't know what they want until they see it, right?
Yeah. But there is one little small little silver lining in all of this, is that if there is an app and there are other applications that you can deploy, if the iPhone is capable of being modified, tuned, adjusted, or made to work through ultrasonic sound, and you can converse with the iPhone that way, then there is some potential market for that technology to be deployed for the iPhone. But as this DSLR gizmo, I think it's a piece of
Yeah, well, I haven't held it and I haven't tried it yet, so I'm not gonna say that it's a piece of crap or whatever. But I'm gonna
No,
say
I never said that. It's just
okay,
a piece of.
it's a piece of, you know, dot, you know, ellipsis, trail off into another. You know,
Yes.
I don't know, but you know, you look at this, and the next story we're going to talk about is, you know, some potential directions that Apple may be going with the iPhone. And if you look at their track record since the introduction of cameras on these iPhones, it's been an incremental. It's getting better and better, and they're not standing still with this stuff. You know, and you see these billboards. Like the other thing is, you know, I drive through San Francisco, and you see these billboards all over the, you know, not just San Francisco, but all over the world. They have these billboards up that say "shot on the iPhone." That's got to be like, for the companies that are doing these kinds of things, that are saying, hey, you can actually get real photography out of an iPhone. There's these billboards with like awesome giant images that were shot on native iPhones. So I don't know.
But you know, Frederick, I mean, Apple has done some incredible stuff, you know, with this whole health monitoring, and you know, you're sort of, you know, you're tracking your heart, tracking your footsteps, tracking what you're consuming as far as calories and all that good stuff, and the overall health environment that we're in. Ultrasonic does play a role. So from that point, I think they have something which can be extended beyond this so-called device that makes a camera a DSLR. Who cares about that? I mean, buy a DSLR for $400. It's cheaper than the iPhone.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things it's really interesting. Not just these guys and not just the iPhone, but you look at like you went to NAB, that you called NAB, Shiv. You went to NAB.
NAB.
You went to NAB, and it was DJI announced a bunch of accessories for their Osmo device, which I love the Osmo. But and here I have one right here. So this guy I love.
Oh, you don't have the new mount. You don't have the new mount.
I don't have the new mount. Yeah, but this thing is so elegant in its simplicity and the quality of the images that you get out of it. And then I was looking on DJI's site, and now there's these different things that you can bolt onto it, and focus pulling and all this stuff. And you're like, where's the camera now? You know, the elegance is gone. You've now made a lowrider out of my awesome, beautiful Jaguar. You know, like, you know, at some point, I like this because of its elegance and simplicity, and there's like 3 controls on it. Now, you know, it seems like people get these devices, or these companies start trying to make them do things that they weren't originally conceived to do. And I'm like, why, as a consumer, why don't you just buy the thing that does that the best already, instead of trying to jerry-rig existing technology into it?
You know, I think it's something going back to what Shiv said earlier, and it had to do with the economy, right? He went to NAB, and before we started recording, he said, one thing that I got out of NAB is that the economy is doing better, because the hall was full of vendors. You know, the place was full of people more than ever, and it's because a lot of people have disposable income. So there's these companies springing from nowhere to try to, you know, take that money away from the people who are willing to give it up.
Yeah.
For whatever cockamamie type gadget they can come up with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna remain a purist. Like you said,
Well,
yes, I don't have the
yeah.
big Micro Four Thirds version of the Osmo. This is the X3 ZenMuse on here, and the quality I get out of this one is still beyond most of what I need right now. So, I'm
But
gonna
see,
use that.
you're one of those, gadget freaks, or
I am.
you have gas as a true syndrome.
I do.
Yes.
And
I do.
you're
I
going to
do.
go
I
get the
must
next
admit.
one. So, I think NAB, as I called it, has lots of offerings for you, including the new mount. You need
Yeah.
the new mount.
I don't. It's funny you say that. I don't need it, but I will get it if I hit
There
a
you go.
wall where I have to get it, and I was like, okay, this will make the shot. Then I'll get it. Maybe a little bit of self justification in there, but I will get it at that point. But
See,
I'm not going to get it to look at it and marvel over my new purchase.
no, no. See, Frederick, I'll tell you what happens, right? People like you and I see this and say, we're going to have that situation arise. I might as well get it now than regret not having got it when I needed it.
Yeah, see, that's that little
Right?
demon on
So,
your shoulder telling you, "Shit, yeah, of
so you
course,
did get it?
There's another word for that.
You
There's another word
deserve
for
that
that.
Lumix G85, man. Buy
Yes.
it."
Yes.
There's another word for that. You know what it's called?
Denial.
Justification.
Yes.
Yeah, justification is a river that runs into denial,
Yes, exactly.
and they merge together and they create an impact on your wallet.
Yes.
So yeah. So anyway, this story, this device, they're saying it brings SLR controls to most iPhones. Check out the link to it in the show notes. This story came to us from our buddies over at Engadget. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a patent filing by Apple that might indicate that folded optics are. Something's telling me to recharge. That folded optics are coming to the iPhone. What is saying recharge? Something.
What?
Oh, I know what it was. It's that,
Siri telling you your.
No, it's what is that? That's
Echo?
that. No, it's not the Echo. It's a little Bluetooth speaker over there that needs to be recharged, and it's going to keep annoying me. I better go turn it off before we continue the show. In fact, let me do that before we restart. Hang on.
I almost feel like we're
This
being
jawbone.
so negative here.
This jawbone.
Ah.
Telling me to recharge it. Okay, now it's off.
Hey, that sounded like some Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, here we go. Let's restart. We can jump into story number 3. In fact, I'm gonna start from the break so that Suzanne can edit this properly. All right, guys, coming up after this break, could a patent filing by Apple indicate that folded optics are coming to the iPhone? All right, guys, we're back. Story number 3 is about Apple filing a patent that could add optical zoom to the iPhone using a technique called folded optics. Now, Shiv, let's start with you on this stuff. Okay, so like we talked about in the last story with these companies that are trying to take existing, I would call them legacy iPhone designs and modify them to do things. Apple is pushing forward smartly on the inside of the iPhone, making it more and more professional. Now it looks like if this patent filing is true and they actually follow through on it, we could have zoomable optics within this little tiny device. What do you think about this?
Yeah. So, the first thing, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, this, taking stuff that already exists, and if somebody didn't file a patent for it when they thought about it, now somebody goes and files a patent and they call it their own.
Mm-hmm.
Time to make money. The real fact is that folded optics or, non-linear optics have been around for a long, long time. I mean, it's nothing new. It was done before. It's going to be done again. The Apple situation is interesting. They filed for a patent in 2014, exactly 2 years ago, and the patent has in fact been approved. Now it has a designated patent number. So what that does is it now gives them an opportunity, whether they do it or not. Their competitors will obviously want to try this out, and now there's another revenue opportunity because the patent belongs to Apple. the fact remains that yes, there is a limitation in the iPhone, and that limitation is telephoto as well as wide angle. I mean, it's basically
the thickness of the device. Light can only do so much. Yeah.
So if you can actually now, have light travel in various paths, you're going to call it bendable. It's not really bendable, or foldable. I don't think you fold light. You just change.
You're just reflecting light.
Yes, it's refracted light.
Yeah, and you can use that technology to facilitate zooming and to facilitate telephoto, to facilitate wide angle. Then I think it's a huge step forward, because no matter what you think, we all use our iPhone to take images. We carry a DSLR, we carry a mirrorless, but you know what? The camera that's on your body right when you need it is the iPhone. You pop it out and you shoot.
Yeah.
And if you had some of those facilities without adding gizmos and increasing friction, I'll take it.
Yeah, it's interesting because you mentioned we all have a camera with it, or we always use our iPhone, and some of us use a DSLR, some of us use mirrorless. It's interesting that the iPhone is in fact a mirrorless camera, and they're talking about adding mirrors into it. so everything comes full circle. Right, Juan? Am I right?
Yeah, this is going to become the world's smallest DSLR. Very soon, it's going to grow a little pentaprism on top, big bulge on top.
Those terms are bothering me, but that's okay.
I know, like under your fingernails. I don't know, but the technology. I mean, obviously, I would love to have. I don't know. Would I? That's a really good question, Juan. You tackle this one. Do you want zoomable optics in your iPhone? Part of the magic of the iPhone is that it is a fixed lens in there, and you zoom with your feet, and or do we want that? And if we do get zoomable optics in there, does that mean we're going to see iPhone pictures with bokeh and the next level? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, and I think that this is pretty neat. I think that Apple, having done work for Apple in the past, I know that Apple files patents for just about any idea that they come up with.
Sure.
Doesn't mean that they're going to do anything with it. Doesn't mean that this is the way they're going to go. We've seen many cases in which they file a patent to do something in a specific way, and then they come out with a product and it does it in a completely different way. Sometimes I think they do it just to mess with the competition more than anything else, to kind of put them in the wrong path. I mean, we've seen recently a company or other people talking about Apple coming up with dual lens cameras or dual cameras on the phones to actually allow for zoomable lenses as well. So I think I don't know that this is really going to happen. I would love to see, as much as, like you said, Frederick, the magic of moving back and forth and zooming with your feet is great. I would still love to be able to do better and tighter composition within the iPhone itself. Oftentimes I feel like I'm zooming in and I'm sacrificing the quality of the image. A lot of times it's because I can't get closer. Or I do want something that's a little wider. So I would welcome a zoomable lens on the iPhone. How they do it,
but Juan,
honestly, I don't care.
People listening to this may be saying, but Juan, you can already zoom on the iPhone. All you do is pinch and zoom, and it's zooming. What's all the hubbub about this folded stuff?
That's cropping. That's not zooming.
It goes back to optical zoom and digital zoom. Yeah, I mean, some people don't fully comprehend that, but that's really what it is.
Yeah. Well, Shiv, is the iPhone if this does, like Juan said, who knows? Apple's sitting on a pile of patents that they can execute on. If they do execute on this patent and this makes it into iPhone 7, does this move the iPhone closer to being or to supplanting everything else or becoming more of a pro camera? Can you do real work with the iPhone if this makes it in?
I don't know whether it will become a pro camera, but it'll surely become a prosumer camera.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's there now. I would argue.
Yeah, right? it's grossly enhanced from where it is today with a feature like this. But I mean, I have a few picks of the week, as I said, for today, and then I want to talk about some stuff that I saw at NAB.
NAB. Everyone calls it NAB. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
There we go. I got it. I love it. Yeah, but I mean, I saw some stuff that's there that I mean, just blew me away from the quality. I mean, incredible. So, yes, the camera is good, and in its native state, it can be enhanced with some incredible optics. So we'll talk about that later. But clearly, the iPhone is really the camera that you have on you when you need it, and it'll do better than what we used to call the phone camera.
Yeah. Yeah,
And now it's a camera.
It used to be, it still is to some degree, but people would say, they would make the excuse of, oh, this came from my iPhone, but or this is a camera phone image as kind of an asterisk that it's not a real photo, and that stuff seems to be falling away. And then as we see these new technologies, like on the video side, like Periscope, obviously, and Facebook Live, these things that you can do broadcast to millions of people from your phone with a high level of quality and take still photos, it becomes, okay, why do I need this bag full of stuff over here when I,
it's funny. It's funny, Frederick, you said something that kind of resonated with me, because sometimes I use that term, like if I posted on Facebook or share with it, or folks, I said, this is an iPhone shot. Yeah. And, I use that oftentimes not as a way to say that this was taken with my iPhone, but to me, it's more an indicator of the level of effort I put into the image, right? Whether it's a snapshot or something I really work towards. Oftentimes I'll make a great image with my iPhone and spend the time to compose it right, get the light right, get the angle right, all this kind of stuff. And that won't say this was an iPhone shot, even though it was taken with my iPhone. Mm-hmm. To me, that connotation of this is an iPhone shot is more a reflection of the amount of effort I put into the image, whether it was a snapshot or something I really worked really hard at. Now, once the quality improves that much more, and I'm able to have all these other capabilities, I may take it a little bit more seriously in using my iPhone that much more. But I think at the end of the day, the iPhone is going to be a jack of all trades, right? Yeah. That's what it is. It's a pocket communicator. It's going to be an email device, a web browser, a telephone, all this kind of stuff. I don't think at the end of the day it's going to replace a true camera, just as my A6300, as capable as it is going to start allowing me to make phone calls and start me calling people while shooting out there.
That's true. Though Panasonic did come out with a camera, a Micro Four Thirds camera with a phone, an Android phone kind of married to it. So
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know where it went. I don't know. I don't even know if it was ever released in the U.S. To be honest with you.
Well, Samsung did the same thing actually. When Samsung was making digital cameras as well, they came out with one that was a big Android phone on the back with interchangeable lenses in the front.
Yeah. Again, back to my earlier that earlier story. If you want a camera, I mean, if you're gonna go to that level,
get a camera. Right.
Get a camera with interchangeable lenses. If you need all that optics and you need that professional level, your phone, however, I think these phones today, even phones of yesterday, 2 years ago, effectively eviscerated the point-and-shoot market to the point where it's like, why would I even carry that thing around when I have a connected computer in my pocket that does great images?
Hey, Frederick, I have a suggestion. A title for this podcast, for this episode, should be, if you want a camera, get a real camera.
How about get a real camera? I'm writing it down now.
Because that seems to be the theme of this episode.
That's it. Or how about just get real?
There you go.
Get real. There we go. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Very subtle.
I like it. I'm not known for being subtle, so I don't know. This is a good conversation. There's a lot of stuff, and I will foreshadow a little bit that Juan, we launched Alpha Mirrorless with you and Andy, and it's going like gangbusters. One of the other shows on the TWiP drawing board right now is about, guess what? Mobile photography.
Mobile photography. Yeah, it's about time for that. It's about time.
It's been about time for that show, and I can't wait for that one to launch, because again, what part of the reason why we have this network is because there's so many different genres and verticals and pockets of people that love different kinds of photography. There's no way one show like this one, This Week in Photo, could serve everybody. But
you'd be doing it an injustice if you tried to serve everything.
Oh, this show would be.
It wouldn't work.
It would be 24 hours long, and then.
Frederick, you'd have to stop traveling.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm infected with the travel bug. That is not happening. All right, guys, let's move on to our picks of the week. I can't believe we were through all these stories already. These hours go so fast. It's ridiculous. All right, so the picks of the week, as you both know, is a segment on this show where you guys can recommend something to the TWiP Army as long as it is somehow related to photography. Mr. Shiv Verma, I'm going to let you go first. What's your pick of the week?
So I got something that you actually attached to the iPhone.
After all that,
so an Iron Man suit for the iPhone.
So I'd heard about the EXO lens, right, and their partnership with Zeiss.
Okay, I'm Googling.
And you kind of know my affinity for Zeiss, so I actually had the opportunity to try out these three lenses.
Okay.
They have a wide angle, they have a telephoto, and then they have a macro lens. And the macro lens is the only one that actually zooms. The wide angle and the telephoto lens are basically fixed focal length. They focus to infinity. But what really blew me away was the clarity, the contrast, the incremental contrast, and the color rendition that you get from these lenses. I mean, you take a shot with the iPhone, and then you take a shot, put this lens on, and take the same shot. I mean, it has the Zeiss color right there built into it. So that blew me away. And what's most interesting about the macro lens is that it has a translucent dome that you can actually stick this lens practically on the surface that you're photographing, and the dome allows enough light to come through, and you have clarity like you wouldn't believe. And the macro lens will do images from, subject size from 3 centimeters to about 12 centimeters. I was blown away. So, to me, if anybody is really interested in augmenting their iPhone, and I think right now it works with the 6 and the 6S. I don't think they have the attachments made for the pluses. But
yes, they do. Actually, I'm looking at the website right now. They say they do.
Okay.
Yes.
And the thing is, it also has like a cold shoe adapter and all built in, and it's beautifully machined. And it's just, I mean, blew me away. I mean, the quality just was absolutely incredible.
Okay. All right. So you're making me want to try this, but I'm still looking at it, and I'm just trying to think of like when the instances where I pull out my iPhone are just really quick shots, and I'm thinking, okay, do I really want to pull this out and add this thing onto it? But granted, if I switch my mindset into thinking this is a second camera in my camera bag, and with a few little movements, I now have professional quality images, and maybe I'll think about it.
Frederick, get real.
That's impossible. That's impossible. Oh,
okay, so that was my one NAB experience.
Okay, I'm looking at pricing for this. Hold on, wait.
My second.
Wait, pricing. We got to talk about pricing. So the EXO lens for the iPhone, for the 6, it's $97. The 6S is $129. The 6S Plus is $112 and $149.95. What's that? The iPhone.
No,
6,
you get the
6. Oh, the 6 Plus is $112.
Yeah.
Okay.
You get the attachment device, and then you buy the lenses as a set or individually. I think that's how it is. Okay.
Yep.
But it's not expensive. I mean, it's really awesome stuff, and you get Zeiss quality optics. I mean, come on, guys, let's get real. It's awesome.
All right. Hey, so before we continue, so we hear Carl Zeiss's name thrown around like what does that actually mean? I wanted to ask someone this for a while. When you say this has a Zeiss lens on it, obviously it means quality. I understand that, but what does it really mean? Like, does it mean that the lenses are manufactured to a certain tolerance in terms of clarity or durability or something? What does Zeiss mean?
So it actually depends, because for example, the Sony and Shiv, you can let me say this real quick, and then you can chime in. At least on the Sony side, Canon makes, or Sony makes lenses that have the Zeiss badge on them, and what that means is that the lenses are manufactured by Sony, but they're using designs from Zeiss, and Zeiss does some quality control of it.
Okay. So just like Leica and Lumix, it's the same.
Yeah, yeah, same way. And the fact is that to have the Zeiss Badger on it, the quality control is managed by Zeiss. For Panasonic, the quality control is managed by Leica. And if you're not doing it right, you have a very high reject rate. Yeah. So, they're very particular about how their badge is applied to a product. So to me, that means consistency, the highest level of quality, and to the most part, I mean, both Leica and Zeiss actually manually check lenses to make sure that they conform to their design specifications, etc. So, yeah. I mean, to me, that's worth the extra bucks that you pay for.
Yeah.
Above and beyond, I mean, I've talked about this before, and I'm kind of a little bit disappointed that I still haven't been able to get my production version of the Panasonic 100-400.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I think a lot of it depends upon the fact that they started manufacturing the lens. It's a beautiful lens, and Leica expects that high level of quality with each lens that goes out of the factory.
Yeah.
And to some extent, maybe the production is not meeting the same quality standards, and there is a delay.
Maybe
potentially.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah.
But I saw. I asked you about that lens before we started recording, and I saw Rob Knight, who used to host our travel show.
Mm-hmm.
I was following him on Instagram. I was looking at some of the shots that he'd been posting from that lens, and I was blown away. I was 100 to 400 lens shooting full frame close-ups of a bug or a moth molting out of its casing, with incredible detail all the way down to the little micro cells on the insect's eyes. There's just I was like, really? How is this even possible?
I'm fortunate enough to have a pre-production version, and I'll tell you that lens has incredible quality. So if the production
was it a 4.5? Is it f4.5?
It's an f4 6.3, I think.
6.3, correct? Yes.
4.63. Okay. Okay.
But it's I mean, forget about how fast the lens is. I'm looking at the quality. What does this lens produce from an image point of view?
Yeah.
I mean, as a wildlife and nature photographer, you want detail. When you shoot a bird, you want feather detail, you want eye detail. This thing can make you go ecstatic.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
All right, spending more. See, I would buy that lens. I would buy that lens.
It's great to spend other people's money.
Right, but I would buy that before I bought this EXO lens. And even as good as this EXO lens might be, if it was a choice between me having an extra $140 to push me over the edge to be able to buy that lens, I would go for that lens before
I'm really glad you said that, because that brings up a very important point. There are lenses and then there are lenses, right? The quality of the lens is always what we're looking for, but what's the reach? When you say telephoto, anything over 50 millimeters is telephoto.
True. Yeah.
Right? So you've got a Leica lens that gives you 100-400 native, 200-800 on the mirrorless camera, and you can handhold it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. 800 millimeters handheld. All right, one last question on that lens, because obviously I'm lusting after it. On the
Drool.
The GX7, or sorry, the GX8, the Lumix GX8. One of the key features of that camera was it can use image stabilization built into the lens simultaneously with in-body image stabilization. So you have two, stabilizing dampeners going simultaneously. Does this lens have in-body image stabilization?
Yeah.
Or in-lens stabilization?
Right. The lens gives you 2-axis.
Mm-hmm.
The GX8 gives you 4-axis. Now, what's interesting is that the GX85, which has just come out, which is the baby GX8, has 5-axis in-body.
So like Olympus then.
Yeah. But you did. You did bring up the G7, and I got to do a disclosure over here. I'm a Lumix ambassador, so I'm touting something that I should be touting.
Yes.
But the G7 actually has a higher frame rate than the GX8.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, from a nature and wildlife photography point of view, that rapid burst is a little beneficial, even though the
But the
body doesn't have
GX8,
this. Yeah,
yeah, the GX8 has image stabilization as well as a 20 megapixel sensor.
20 megapixel sensor. But
Yeah,
the GX85 has a 16 megapixel sensor, but a brand new sensor. So,
all right.
lots
Move on
of
to your
good things.
Not that we
All
care
right.
about gear or anything on this show, but
Not at all.
not at all.
All
Not
right.
at all. But see, people can see the level. This is what happens when you get us together in real life. This is the conversations that go on between people that love this
And
stuff.
days and days pass, and we don't even know how long we've been together. Yes.
Exactly. That's how it goes. All right, Chip. What's your second pick?
My second pick is actually it's a family of products, but they all are absolutely phenomenal. So far we've had HDR. We talk about the great things about HDR in still photography, and Trey Radcliffe came out with this brilliant piece of software in conjunction with McFun Aurora, and it's just so beautiful. Now, can you imagine doing all that with video? Recording HDR video?
Come on, please. Don't spend more of my money, shit. Come on.
So, I think, you've talked about it earlier, and I think Joseph talked about it. The Animus product with the Ninja Assassin.
Yeah.
Well, now there is a Ninja Flame and a Shogun Flame and an Inferno.
Okay.
And
what do they do?
They do video HDR.
What?
And you can actually, on the display, see HDR as it is being recorded, but you're still recording, and I don't want to go into technicalities over here, but you're still recording S-Log on a Panasonic or V-Log or S-Log on a Sony, and it's being recorded so that you can post-process exactly how you want to, totally flat, but you see it as it would after you post-process it.
Oh, geez.
So, to me, that just blew me away. There you are. There, see, look at that.
Yeah.
On the left is what you see. On the right is what you're shooting.
Yeah, and folks that are listening to this audio, please go watch this video or click on the link in the show notes because I'm showing a picture of this device with. Can you actually? Oh, you can move it. Yeah, it actually is doing an HDR-like effect within this device, which is basically a preview monitor that connects to your camera. And
well, it's not just a monitor; it's also a recorder.
It's a recorder.
So
okay.
Yeah, it'll record full 10-bit. It takes away from cameras that have that 29.99 minute limitation.
Yes.
Takes all that away. You can record continuously. It's just, I mean, they had these out there, and it blew me away. So.
Oh wow, this is great. And you saw this live on the show floor?
Oh yeah, actually, I was at NAB. I gotta say it properly. At NAB.
You see my cursor? You see?
and I was, I was actually at the Animus booth doing some stuff for X-Rite, and we can actually use an X-Rite i1 Display Pro and calibrate this monitor to full color fidelity. I mean, get calibration dead on, and then you look at the image in HDR, it just blows you away.
Wow. Oh, finally I find the price. Okay. $16.95. Wow.
Well, that's for the Shogun. That'll also do SDI, but if you just do HDMI, then you can do the Ninja Flame, and that's $12.95.
Wow. Okay. All right, Shiv, you and your picks.
Dang it!
See, Frederick, we had a deal, right? $1,000 is what you spend for each show.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm about there,
$4,000 a month
right?
it's costing me then, right?
Yeah, I'm about there with about $12.95. Next week,
this looks really cool. This looks,
Yeah,
I mean, these kinds of tools bring, in all seriousness, they bring that professional level production quality down to normal mortals. right?
Yeah.
Because I went on this tangent this weekend of watching old movies, and I was watching like The Day the Earth Stood Still, and stuff like that. And it's just like
Yes.
you look at these movies that they actually had to have really good scripts, and because they didn't have the science fiction, they didn't have the budget to create all these crazy effects. And I'm like, wow, a lot of this stuff you could literally create with your mirrorless cameras or even your iPhone in some cases, right? You create these kind of things if you had the story to go along with it. And now we have these kinds of tools, which in a lot of ways they remove all barriers to creating whatever you can dream up, pretty much. Notwithstanding being able to create 3D transformers and all that, but you can create pretty much anything you want and make it look beautiful. And not only do we have the tools to create this stuff, with Google Tube, we have the power to distribute it to millions of virtually unlimited audience for free. So it's crazy.
Frederick, you've got a GH4, right? I think you still have a GH4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, hook that GH4 to this. 10-bit out, you got HDR. I mean, Panasonic had in their booth these Ninja Flames on top of their cameras, and you could see the difference. Wow. It was just mind-blowing. Wow. Unbelievable.
You gotta love it.
Pretty
you
cool.
Gotta love it. Hey, and it says 4K. Wait a minute. It says 4K RAW on this one. Unlock the RAW from Sony and Canon.
Sony and Canon. Yeah. So the big Sony video cameras and the big Canon video cameras.
Yeah. Oh, those. Okay.
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah, because I was gonna say nobody shoots Sony mirrorless cameras, so what are you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry, Juan. Are you still here? I'm sorry.
I'm still here. I could hear that.
All right, man. Well, Shib, thank you, man. That's 2 excellent picks, man. You came in with both barrels blazing. I don't know.
Oh, yes.
That's a tough act to follow, Juan.
I know. Well, I'm going a totally different time shift warp here. He's going for depth in dynamic range. Now I'm going for an intervalometer for time lapse.
Oh,
my
pick, stretch it out. Nice.
My pick is the View intervalometer, and this is a Kickstarter project. But the guy who is putting out together had a previous product called the Time Lapse Plus, which was actually an awesome little time lapse intervalometer that you could use. Now, this was about 4 or 5 years ago that he came out with the Time Lapse Plus, and I still use today. It is an amazing little time lapse intervalometer that allows you to do kind of what we call the holy grail of time lapse, which is doing time lapse from day to night and night to day. So you get that nice, stars moving above you with then the sun rising and then seeing the clouds, and doing that entire transition automatically in such a way that your skies don't get totally blown out when the sun comes out, kind of thing. Now, what he's done with the View, he has it now where you can actually see live the time lapse that you're creating, and it allows you to then control it automatically, either from the device itself and adjusting basically the exposure that your camera is executing, or from an iPhone, a detached device, so you don't run the risk of bumping into your device and actually messing up your time lapse. It's a little pricey for time-lapse, but this is going to make time-lapse so much easier for people because it does all the calculations for you. You can tell it what you're trying to do, and the whole thing will calculate it, give you a preview on the screen, and it's about $340 for the device. And again, it's a Kickstarter, but I believe in this guy, Elijah Parker. He's done an incredibly good job with the Time-Lapse Plus, so I don't expect him to do any less with this device.
Very cool. And what is this called? View? It's called View, right?
Yep, the View intervalometer. View intervalometer.
And I'm looking on the Kickstarter page now, so timelapseplus.com, or we'll link to this Kickstarter campaign from the post too. But it looks like he already made his goal of $100,000. He's broken that by $4,000 already. So yeah, and
so this is gonna happen. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, I love doing time lapse. I have more time lapse equipment that you can shake and stick at. I got that gas syndrome for time-lapse equipment, but this is going to be really cool because it's just going to be a total no-brainer. You can tell right away because you can see this time-lapse. you can get that live preview of the time lapse. You can tell right away whether your time lapse is going to work, if it's going to be compelling enough or not. You don't have to waste all that time making those shots and then find out, that the scene wasn't all that great to begin with.
Yeah, remove a lot of the trial and error.
Yeah. So it actually generates a video.
Yeah, and the device itself has a little screen. So it basically takes the feed off of the camera, with the exact shots the camera's taken, and puts them in the little display and runs them for you as a little movie, so you can actually see them anytime you want.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
And while the camera is continuing to shoot the rest of the sequence. Is that right?
Exactly. Yep, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. And then what you can do is, if the image is, if you're seeing that the image is getting a little overexposed, you can tell it to dial it down a little bit, but it'll automatically do that as well. So. Wow.
Look at that. And how much is it? How much is?
It's right now the early birds are all gone, so it's $340.
$340. Okay. Yeah.
$340, and he guarantees it's going to work with Canon, with Nikon, and at least Sony.
Nice. All right.
Maybe Panasonic as well. But I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
So
because if it doesn't work with Panasonic, I'm not linking to it from the TWiP site.
Yeah,
no,
he says Canon,
I can't.
and Sony. Yes.
I kid. I love all brands. Just the one I use is the best. All right. So. All right, that was a great pick. You guys both of you had great picks today. That's good stuff. So yeah, and Shiv, you literally wrote a book on time lapse, right? So you know a little bit about this stuff. What do you think? What do you think about this thing?
Oh, I like it. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, if it's actually going to be able to read the exposure and make adjustments and then still allow you some manual control, that's great, because you still have to wrestle with the fact that when you have sunrises and sunsets, in stills we need a split neutral density filter or a graduated neutral density filter. That part still is a problem, even in time-lapse, no matter what you do. So at least if you get your exposure reasonably well, then you can post-process and resolve it. So
yeah. And how's your book doing, by the way? I've got it up here on the screen here. It's an iBook too, right?
Yeah, it's doing good. It needs to be updated, so that's my project for 2016, is to get it updated and add all these new products to it.
Excellent. So many toys to play with. So many toys. All right, time lapse
time.
I know, it's so little time. It's what was the thing I was telling someone the other day? I forget who it was. Might have been on a show. It's all a blur. But it was the idea of we have all the... Oh, it was Joseph Linaschke. We were talking today, right before we launched TWiP apps, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But we were talking about how many cool tools were out there in the context of being able to do live streaming from the Osmo, the DJI Osmo, to Facebook now, to Facebook Live. And the fact that you can do that, and you have stabilized footage, and you've got these mirrorless cameras, and you've got drones that can do ridiculous aerial shots, and phones that can do slow-mo and 4K, and we've got all these tools. But what I'm seeing is missing, and I'm guilty of this too, is story in a lot of this stuff, because we have, even me. I went down to Mexico, although we did do a story down there, but it would have been very easy just to go down there and take a whole bunch of pretty pictures and post them online and say, hey, look at this, it's an Aztec or a Mayan pyramid, and look at this, it's a cenote, and look at, but to weave it all together, I'm seeing the fact that we have a lot of tools and the capability to do this stuff really easily. Not a whole lot of story is behind stuff. I think that might be the next big nugget for people differentiating themselves, is telling compelling stories with the awesome tools that they have.
But isn't that what happened with photography, Frederick? I mean, photography started off with taking pictures, and then it transitioned into telling stories. I mean, you tell a story with a single image, and it's very powerful. Yeah. Video, on the other hand, you can tell a story because it's a sequence.
Maybe. Yeah.
So you now have to basically learn how to capture the essence of what you shoot and tell it as a story, which requires a little bit of understanding of what it is that you really want to convey. And once you have that, I'm sure people will be doing some pretty decent stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like with Instagram, the they added video, but I would love it if they went a step further or a step to the left or whatever and added audio annotated stills where I could put a still photograph up there and say, yeah, this is what I was feeling when I shot this sunset. It was my girlfriend and I's, blah blah blah, and we were having a good time, and I captured this, boom. Or hey, look at this beautiful latte that I shot, of my food. Turns out it was really disgusting, but here's a shot of it, just to add some depth to it rather than making the viewer figure it out on their own.
So, Frederick, how would you do that? I mean, you're controlling your drone. I have to bring the drone into this TWiP, right? How can we do a TWiP without a drone?
I bring the drone into every situation I could possibly squeeze the drone into.
So you're there with this drone, right?
Yep.
And hopefully now you're going to carry a recorder with a mic, and you're going to narrate what the drone is seeing.
No, it doesn't need to be done live. It could be done in post. I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to post a 15-second Instagram clip, I want to be, instead of just posting some random clip or some random photo, wouldn't it be good to have added a little narration to it? Even in Instagram, if you had a photo on the screen while you're composing your Instagram post, and you had a microphone record button where you could just record a quick snippet of audio to accompany that photo, that'd be fantastic. And it doesn't seem like it'd be hard to do.
As long as you're not recording what the drone is producing.
No. I don't. Yeah, that's a swarm of bees. You don't want to hear that. That is a swarm of bees. You will never be snuck up on by a drone. Trust me.
Right.
All right, guys. Good show. Very good show. I'm gonna skip my pick of the week because I didn't have anything that I felt like I wanted to recommend, so I'm gonna skip it this week. But before we close the show, I want to find out what's going on with you guys. Juan, I think you're just back from somewhere in the woods, living in a tent or something.
My God. No, actually, no. This was not living in the tent. It was I was doing a workshop in Alaska on the super luxurious. This is. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed to say this because we are in the most luxurious 80-foot yacht, being fed 3 gourmet meals a day with all the wine and beer you want to have, and every so often we get out and shoot whales, or we shoot eagles, or we shoot sea otters, or sea lions, or whatnot. So yeah, there was 10 days on this 80-foot yacht in the wilds of Alaska. Lots and lots of fun, but I mean completely in the middle of nowhere. We're without connection for 10 days, but I absolutely love it out there, and it's one of my favorite places to be. Just literally got back from that, and I got back from that, and then the next day it was my son's spring break, and he and I went camping. So I got back, unpacked a set of bags, packed another set of bags, and went camping for a week, and we just returned last night.
Wow.
And I'm just catching my breath today.
And you've like recorded 2 episodes of Alpha Mirrorless and 1 episode of This Week in Photo already.
All one day, yes. Was caught up to like 100 emails that I hadn't caught up with in the past week. Yeah. Today has been a little crazy of a day, but we do what we got to do.
You do what you can, man.
Yeah. No, but we got to baby this Alpha Mirrorless podcast, man.
That's right.
It's catching on fire, and can't let it down. So today I recorded 2 interviews. We actually released one of those today, and the next one will be out in a couple of weeks.
That is so cool, man. Cool. Congratulations on all that. The successes of that show continue to surprise me. And I consider myself a veteran podcaster, and I'm still surprised at the success of that show. So
cool. So well, that's awesome. That's great to hear you say that.
Yeah, good going. All right, what else? What else do you have coming up?
Well, we got the Auto New York conference coming up in October, which you're going to be at as well, right?
Yes, I will be there.
I taught at the Auto Chicago conference last year, which was a lot of fun. I can't make the Auto Chicago conference this summer, unfortunately, but I'll be there next year in Chicago. But I'll be in New York in October. So I know that you were talking about that quite a bit during the shows, which is great because we love to see a lot of folks come out to that. It's a great group of instructors. Chris Smith, who puts it together, does a really spectacular job. He's a great guy. So I look forward to going there and kind of meet up with people. That's one of the great things about these shows for us instructors. Not only we get to teach, but we get to see people that we only get to see, once every couple of years, or sometimes every year if we're lucky.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the I just today, as we record this episode, which is Monday the 25th of April, I released an episode of TWiP Talks, and it's featuring Chris Smith. We were talking about out of
Cool.
Chicago and out of New York. So if folks want to learn more about that conference, go check out that interview I did with him. I think it's like a 20 or 30-minute interview, and he kind of goes into some of his thought processes and reasons behind building yet another photography conference, and why this one is a little bit different than the other ones that are out there.
No, I mean, I
And
think he does a great job. I've taught at many of these over the years, and he does a great job of putting something that is a little bit different than everybody else is doing, and certainly in different locations, than a lot of people are doing. So this is pretty cool.
yeah, it's good. And it's good. Like I said in that interview that I did with him, or when we were talking, one of the reasons why I wanted to be involved in these conferences is that he's doing something different. It's something a little bit different, and
Yes.
he's giving the opportunity to a lot of people that may not have had the opportunity to speak at some of the larger conferences, even though they're every bit as talented and
Yes.
skilled as the people the names that you always see at these big conferences. They never get a chance. Now you can hear some of these different, younger and older voices come out and speak at this new conference. So
Oh yeah, he's had a couple of people who were first-time presenters at the Auto Chicago last year that really, broken out and really have done a spectacular job, and they've become really great speakers and really good instructors. So it's kind of neat to see him sort of nurture those people that don't necessarily, they're lesser known, let's say. So that's really cool, kind of different than what everybody else is doing.
Very cool. Cool. And then I see number 3 here. You have a trip coming up soon, right?
Oh yeah, well, my busy times are the fall and winter, early spring, and now I usually take the summers off, so I'm actually free until September, believe it or not. I've got a couple of private workshops that I'm doing, but other than that, I'm not doing any big workshops until September or so. And I just wanted to give a plug here for a workshop that I'm running in Scotland. We're going to be hitting the Isle of Skye and a bunch of different other places in Scotland that I think is going to be really cool. This is going to be kind of a landscape workshop in a just spectacular location. So wanted to make people aware of that. And that's October 22nd to the 31st.
Wow, jeez, yeah. You're like the James Brown of photography, the hardest working man.
Hey, and Frederick, there's still room in the Cuba workshop if you want to come. So
hey,
got a few spots left.
Hey, I'm trying to fill up my international traveling sort of lust right now. I have wanderlust, and I may take you up on that.
So, dude, Cuba is. I mean, and you hear everybody says it. You got to go before it changes, but you really do, because it's changing so insanely fast.
Is it like McDonald's and Starbucks showing up down there?
Not quite that bad, but in just 6 months they've introduced Wi-Fi in the middle of Havana. So in some of the places that, for years and decades people have congregated, you don't see them congregated like they used to. They kind of congregate on these Wi-Fi hotspots. So you'll see all these Cubans, on
everyone's
Facebook or
everyone's face down like this now.
Yeah. So you're starting to see things change quite a bit, and so fast. So it is the time to go now before things get really, really crazy.
Wow. All right. Well, cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for the great picks.
Oh, always, man.
And congratulations on all your successes. You're crushing it.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Shiv Verma. What about you, man? What do you have coming up?
Well, let's see. I did nab.
Did you nab some gear at NAB?
I did. And then I went to Death Valley, which was incredible.
Did you get the flowers?
There are some. I think I was a little too late for the real big bloom. But experienced something which is, a true storm. a windstorm, which lasted a whole day.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely incredible to see something like that.
That's cool.
So, I got back this morning at about 11 o'clock, and I got to get up at 4 o'clock, and then I'm off to St. Augustine. I'm doing the Panasonic show for the Birding and Photography Festival for the whole week, and come back, do another show for Panasonic at Hunts, which is the Digital Days, and then the week following, a workshop in Yosemite, and then we can go on and on.
Yeah. I'm looking at your 26 workshop tours. You've got Yosemite, you've got Martha's Vineyard, you've got South Africa and Botswana, lighthouses of New England coming up, then Iceland, then Yellowstone, then Cape Cod, and
Oh yeah, Iceland.
Myanmar.
Yeah. Iceland. I have 2 spaces left, so I need 2 people to come for that to fill up that workshop. The rest are all doing great.
I love it. I love it. You guys, like I always say on these shows, you guys are always an inspiration for me and kicking up my traveling because it's like, for years I've been doing the show, talking to, people with ridiculous travel schedules like you guys and, coming back with these amazing photos. And I'm always like, I know how to shoot. How do these guys get these great shots? Well, because they go to where the shots are. That's how they get the shots.
Hey, but you know what, Frederick, you're doing okay. You've done more trips in the past 6 months than you've ever done in all your life.
Oh
so
man, yeah. Where have I been in the last year or 18 months? I've been to New Zealand. I've been to Champagne, France, Paris, France. Been
Awesome.
to where else? Jeez, Mexico. Yeah, I've been.
No, you did Vietnam.
Vietnam. Yeah, how could I forget Vietnam? I did 6 cities in Vietnam.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to move about the planet. So
That's awesome.
There
That's
you
great,
go.
dude.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
yeah, but I gotta crank it up a little bit now. That was a lot of my travels have been to sort of start understanding how to travel because both of you guys know there's little tricks that travelers and seasoned travelers use to make the trip go a little bit easier, and you don't know these until you actually go and put yourself in the situation. So
I think one of the nice TWiP episodes we did with Valerie, you and myself was on travel, and people. I think one of the things that you might want to do one day, Frederick, and just a suggestion, is to do like a cross-reference index of all the TWiP shows.
Yeah.
So people can say, you know what, I'm going to travel. Oh, I should look at TWiP number this, and this.
That's a great idea, actually.
Right? So that would be great.
Yeah, because we only have a couple of episode 462. So it's not that much work.
You can do it by lunch tomorrow, right? You should be able to get it done by then.
See, by the time you buy lenses for one, you
we make a note in the notes for the producer. Don't invite Cheese Verma back on the show. Oh man! Hey, a promise is a promise. I will come through. I will come through on that promise. And these guys, like I said, small price to pay for as much as these guys are crushing it.
See, Frederick, you're taking.
I'm gonna set up a GoFundMe to help me.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
help me fund the lenses for these guys for Alpha Mirrorless.
That's awesome.
Hey, why not?
Don't take it the wrong way, Frederick. It is an appreciation of what Juan is doing with his show that I so like. I don't want it to stop. I want that 400, 500 episode to be there.
I know. It'll get there. I'm pretty sure it'll get there. Juan, where are you guys up to right now? What's your episode?
We just published number 8, so that's what went out today.
Yeah, episode 8. What was that one on?
That was Robert Evans. The interview with Robert Evans I actually did this morning. So.
Nice.
That's already out. It's not.
Oh, you recorded it and published it today. That's
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, recorded 2 things, edited, published that. Like I said, today it's just been nonstop.
Oh, I gotta listen to it on my flight to Florida tomorrow. Then.
Yeah, I know. I had never. I've heard of Robert before. I didn't know him. But we got along great. It was a great interview. I really enjoyed having him on the show. So
he's a host. He's a co-host of one of our other shows on the network.
I know, absolutely.
Yeah, TWiP Weddings. Yeah. So
that's why this was so easy because he's already used to doing podcasts. So it was great.
Yeah, that's great. Well, speaking of podcasts, like I probably have mentioned in the little intro for the show, as we record this, like I said, is April 25th. We launched the newest addition to the TWiP network, and that's TWiP Apps, hosted by Joseph Linaschke. It's been on the drawing boards for a while. Interesting thing about that show, obviously, is the content. Joseph is going to be interviewing different folks that have published various apps that pertain and relate to photography, but it's the first show on the network that has video in the podcast feed. So we have other shows that are video, and even this show, you can watch the video on the web, but all the shows that have a video component, you can watch the video through YouTube. This is the first show that we're actually serving up video so you can, download and watch the episodes on your phone. So like I said, life is an experiment. So far, so good, though. It looks beautiful. It looks great on the Apple TV. Looks great everywhere. So, yeah, check it out. We've set it up. You can just head over to twipapps.com or just go to This Week in Photo and click on Apps in the menu bar, and it'll take you right to it. And check out. I think so far we've launched 3 episodes. So 3 episodes are in the queue waiting for you to go check out. And you can see Joseph do his little tap dance and put various app makers on the hot seat. First one up was AC/DC. You guys remember AC/DC?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, AC/DC been around 20-ish years, and
they're still around.
And they're still around. And they're still around. I'm not going to give away what happened in the podcast, but you gotta go watch it. It's very interesting to see those guys talk.
So when will I ever get any work done if I keep watching podcasts?
Works. All right, guys. And for me coming up, like Juan mentioned, I'll be speaking at the Out of Chicago conference coming up in June. I'll be speaking also at Out of New York in October, and we've got a new product that's going to debut in the brand new TWiP school, which you can find at school.thisweekinphoto.com, that we'll be launching that exclusively with the 5-day deal that's coming up very soon. So keep an eye out for that. There'll be a huge special in that where you'll essentially be able to get the course that we're launching at no cost as part of that bundle, and then it'll be a part of the TWiP school and have a price on it. So yeah, definitely check out that bundle, which I will be telling you about during that deal. And and support the TWiP school. I'd love for you guys, TWiP listeners, to go check it out and tell me what you think. It's brand new, and we plan on loading that thing down with content from our various hosts and supporters of This Week in Photo. All right, guys,
Excellent.
we are at the end of another episode of TWiP. I want to thank our sponsors, FreshBooks, and our friends Chris Smith over at Out of Chicago for having me at the conference to speak. And also be sure to check out our website at thisweekinphoto.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. And if you happen to be watching this show on YouTube, please comment, like, and subscribe to our channel. And with that, it is time to take that lens cap off.